Hello there friends and welcome. I'm here today with a new guide for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This time all about the Barbarian class. Barbarians can be very strong in the game with a high number of attacks per round, including some natural attacks, great damage, amazing attack bonus, and lots of very nice rage powers. Even their unique ability Rage can soon acquire unlimited uses from the very early game. Plus, as a trickster, Barbarian will also be able to achieve enormous critical range and damage, and even a full scaling wizard spellbook. So let's get started. Alright, so first let's get into each Barbarian archetype and the best ones. I'll be blunt, the best one is by far Mad Dog, but I'll also cover the other ones now, as to explain why. So we have first Armored Hulk. It's basically a heavy armor barbarian, that's about it. He can wear heavy armor and has faster movement speed in heavy armor. The problem is, as a barbarian we don't really need armor class, because we can either attack with a reach weapon or while enlarged for reach, so safely behind our back line, or simply ride our pet. Also, the secondary resilience of steel benefit is kinda crappy because it only works against critical hits, not normal attacks, which are the most common ones. Beastskin Berserker basically tries to be like a shapeshifter, except you can't really support all of your wild shapes enough while being a barbarian. Instinctual Warrior is one of the most unique ones, to be fair. It's basically like a barbarian monk. Your main rage ability becomes focused at rage instead, which actually increases your wisdom while raging, something very rare. Something that achieves very high synergy at level 2 because of the Cunning Illusion ability. Just like a monk, your Instinctual Warrior will be able to add his Wisdom modifier to armor class, and even gain increases to armor class as well as he levels up, so long as he is unarmored. Lastly, your rage power selection, well, you also have a few monk powers here to choose from, although the barbarian ones are by far the best. The main issue I have with Instinctual Warrior is, well, the same as Armored Hulk. Armor class isn't really necessary for us. I'll say that this can have a lot of synergy with some cheesy multi-class combos, usually the ones that want to min-max armor class. For example, they might pick like 2 levels in Instinctual Warrior, just that, not more, if only to add their wisdom modifier to armor class, like for example a cleric or a druid, and use focus at rage for a tiny increase. But yeah, this is basically multi-class cheesing instead of someone that wants to be a full Instinctual Warrior. Now we have Invulnerable Rager. It's basically the barbarian with the highest damage reduction possible. You always have half your class levels, for a maximum of 10, and then you can increase that even further to rage powers by picking 3 increased damage reductions, for a maximum of 16. While this may seem a lot in the early game, for the mid and the late game remember that enemies in Wrath of the Righteous are very stacked and have very high damage per attack, especially on hard and unfair. Just 16 is not enough to cut it even at max level, especially at max level. Also remember you can just cast the Stone Skin spell for 10 damage reduction anyways. As far as the Pack Rager, it might have been a lot better if you could actually share rage powers with your party members, as the name implies. It's somewhat misleading though. What Pack Rager shares is teamwork feats, and well, our allies can get teamwork feats in a number of different ways, so skip. Now we have Mad Dog, the ultimate barbarian archetype at last. The main power is of course the fact you gain a full scaling animal companion pet as early as level 1. I've said this many times, but pets are extremely overpowered in Wrath of the Righteous. They are basically the same as if having an extra party member slot for free, except in some occasions that are even better than party members. That's how good your pets can be. Second, it's not just about having a pet, because the Mad Dog archetype has very unique bonuses when fighting together with their pet. As early as level 2, you gain the Pack Tactics ability. Whenever you and your pet are flanking the same creature, both actually gain a +4 bonus on attack rolls instead of just +2. And this actually stacks with Outflank, so eventually at around level 7, both your barbarian and your pet will gain a massive +6 untyped stacking bonus to attack when flanking that same target. That's a pretty high boost. At level 5, your pet will also gain the Trip feat. While it is true that pets can gain this for free by just choosing the Bully archetype, because we achieve it as a class feature, we can then change our pet's class into Bulwark for a boost in tanking when it comes to our pet. Lastly, we have the super overpowered Throat Cutter ability. Whenever your pet succeeds on a trip maneuver, which is something that will happen very often because our pets will have automatic free trip on every single one of their attacks. Your Mad Dog will gain a free attack of opportunity against that target, so long as they are flanking them. There's really no words to say how OP this is, because it doesn't have a limit per round, besides that of your own attacks of opportunity. And like I said, our pet trips on every single attack, so we are getting a huge amount of free attack with our Mad Dog Barbarian. This combo alone can easily destroy enemies just by itself. Besides that, a Mad Dog still retains most of the other powerful Barbarian abilities. You do have full scaling Rage. The only difference is it comes somewhat later at level 4, which you know doesn't matter because we have a pet to carry us from level 1 onwards. And second, you have a few less rage powers, but you can still get the best ones just fine. So now that we know why Mad Dog is the best, let us get started building our super OP Mad Dog Barbarian. When it comes to races, you have two choices. Human is always my preferred choice because of the extra bonus feat, which, trust me, matters a lot early game. However, you can also go with Tiefling and then Motherless for the extra bite attack per round. Bite attacks will stack with themselves, and you know the more attacks you have, the better. Even if it's not a weapon attack, you can add a lot of nice bonuses to damage later on. I would go with Human though. For background, the choice is always the same, so Street Urchin and Pickpocket for the bonus to initiative. When it comes to ability point allocation, Strength is our main stat, and we want to start with 19, then 14 Constitution for some decent amount of hit points. We also want 12 Intelligence, yes I know, a smart Barbarian. The reason is we are going Trickster, and with just 12 Intelligence we'll eventually be able to cast all of the wizard spells. That's right, our very Barbarian will gain access to a full wizard spell book for free. That's how OP Trickster is. Lastly, 12 Charisma, just so we can properly use all of the Trickster spells. Wisdom is your true dump stat. You can go with 12 Dexterity to boost some of your attacks of opportunity and then leave Wisdom at 10. Or just dump it at 8 and then start with 14 Dexterity, which is what I'm going to do. Low Wisdom doesn't really matter because there are many ways of enhancing your saves against mind-affecting spells and even becoming outright immune to them. Now, as far as skill point allocation, the most important skill is Athletics, especially because of synergy with Trickster later on. Second, Use Magic Device can also help, once again because of Trickster, as you'll be able to make our one's infinite uses. The other skills are up to you. They don't matter that much. I'll be going with Perception because it always helps. Persuasion too, although we aren't a Charisma build. There's plenty of gear to boost your Persuasion by very high amounts if you want to make dialogue checks with your Barbarian, especially intimidate enemies. And I'll pick Lore Nature here just for the thematics of the build. Now when it comes to your level 1 feats, this is going to be a Falchion Barbarian, so a two-handed Barbarian focused on achieving extremely high critical. We will eventually get around half critical hits chance. That's how good a Barbarian Trickster is. So for our level 1 feats, I would go with Power Attack and Cleave, the usual package for two-handers. The reason is Cleave grants you pretty much an extra attack per round, which matters a lot early on. That's double your attacks. Just remember that early on it is in your best interest to equip Glaives, because they are breach weapons, so you can attack from safety behind your tanks. As for your pet, honestly the dog and the wolf are still the best, but now you can also go with the boar and the triceratops, so basically the pets that have gore. As a matter of fact, for this build I'll be going with the boar, as I think a wild animal like the boar fits a barbarian a lot more than just a dog. When it comes to deity selection, any that allows the Trickster alignments, Gorum is a perfect choice, both role-playing and also mechanics-wise, and then Chaotic Neutral, but you can also go with Chaotic Good or Evil. For your level 3 feat, the choice is pretty simple, Cleaving Finish, for yet another free attack per round, so we have one from level, a potential second one from Cleave, and then if you kill an enemy, a third one from Cleaving Finish. Something very easy to do, especially with glaives and reach weapons early on. At level 4, increase strength, which is also what we are going to increase on all other levels. Now, we also gain our first rage powers at level 4. The selection is going to depend basically on if you already have a SKALD party member to help your allies. Skalds can actually share all of the barbarian rage powers they have with your whole party, including pets. If you want the most powerful barbarian possible, then it is actually in your best interest to have a SKALD party member. The reason is that this way you can actually combine your rage powers, as you truly have everything at once, and cover for the ones your SKALD doesn't have. For example, you can only pick a single stance power, so the SKALD can go for Lethal Stance, which won't stack with itself, then the Barbarian can pick Reckless Stance, So now you have both Reckless Stance and Lethal Stance on your Barbarian for a maximum boost to attack rolls. To put it simply, I'll show you the two ways of doing it. If you don't have a SKALD party member, and you don't plan on getting one, then first pick Animal Fury. Amusingly enough, this will stack, even if you have a SKALD, because bite attacks stack in Ref, and the more attacks we have, the better. Then go for Lethal Stance, Deadly Accuracy, and later on Lethal Accuracy. You can also pick Scent eventually, to allow your Barbarian to bypass concealment from enemies, even if they don't come from illusion, something that the True Seeing buff cannot do. Now, if you already have a SKALD party member, however, which is what I'm going to assume since it's the most optimal, min-maxed way, and I do have a SKALD, well, you actually also start with Animal Fury for your first one, because like I said, it stacks, but the other choices are going to change. For our level 5 feat, pick Combat Reflexes. Now, it is true that you can already pick the highly powerful Outflank feat now. The reason I like to delay it to level 7 is that our medium base attack bonus characters, like pets, can only pick it starting from level 7, and Outflank only works if another ally also has it. As I said before, for the level 7 Outflank, always a must. For your level 8 Rage Power, this is when I like to pick Reckless Stance. It's an extra boost to attack rolls, untyped, so stacks with quite a lot of stuff. And since we have a SKALD, we can combine both Lethal and Reckless Stance for our Barbarian. Plus, eventually we can get Inspire Ferocity, which lets us apply this to all our party members, so we're kinda like a mini SKALD for Reckless Stance, which I find very fun. The penalty to armor class really doesn't matter for our Barbarians, and for other characters, if you don't want it, you can just choose the Don't Accept Rage ability. For your level 9 feat, the choice is also simple. Improved Critical. Well, you have a few different choices. Just like with my previous Cleric Angel, the best weapons overall for a Trickster Barbarian are Falchions, Scimitars, and Rapiers. You can even go without shards, although it does cost an extra feat. The thing is, you know, when I picture a Barbarian, I imagine a hulking monster with a very big weapon. So I'll be going with Falchions instead, but like I said, you can go with the other ones too. For your level 11 feat, you have a few different options. I like picking Improved Initiative here, as starting from this point, chapter 3 and 4, enemies start to act a lot faster. But you can also go with an extra Rage Power, mostly if you don't have a SKALD, or the Great Cleave feat, which by itself will be useless. It's mostly so later you can get Improved Cleaving Finish, a very powerful feat. The problem is, starting from level 13 to 17, our feat selection is set in stone, because of the Trickster special critical feats. So you will only get Improved Cleaving Finish at 19. I think the normal Cleaving Finish is more than enough, especially because we already have a pet granting us free attacks. So I'll be going with Improved Initiative. For our level 12 Rage Power, Inspire Ferocity, so we can share Reckless Stance with our party. Now when it comes to level 13, please remember that at this point, you absolutely should already have leveled your character to Mythic rank 4, as you get Perception rank 1 and 2 Mythic tricks. So that at level 13 we start getting access to the super overpowered Trickster special feats, first with Improved Critical and Falchion. For level 15, another Trickster special critical feat. As for another Rage Power, I'll go with the Demon Totem just because, you know, I already have a SKALD, and later I can get an improved version that lets your melee attacks inflict a negative level on enemies, something I find fun, although our critical hits are mostly going to explode the enemies anyways. It's just that the other ones I already cover by virtue of having a SKALD. For our level 17 feat, the last special Trickster feat, Improved Critical Improved. As for your last feat at level 19, we actually get another special Trickster feat. Did you know Tricksters are even more OP now, because they have the Stat Focus special feat, and we are going to choose Attack for a +1 Mythic bonus to attack rolls. But you can also go with completely normal spell meta magic, for extra spellbook flexibility, as at this point you already have the Wizard spellbook. As for your last Rage Power at level 20, Demon Totem. I suppose you might make a case for getting this earlier, especially since we are a Trickster focused build with high critical hits. The problem is, because of the synergy between critical hits and attacks of opportunity, usually when you get a critical hit and you have allies nearby, the enemies just explode anyways, so negative levels aren't going to matter that much, because the enemy will just be dead. Alright, so now let's discover Mythic progression for our Mad Dog Barbarian Trickster. So when it comes to the first ascension, the choice is very simple. Close to the Abyss for the extra gore attack. Pretty much an extra attack per round. This is also the reason why I don't pick the Fiend Totem Rage power, because gore attacks don't stack with themselves, we only get one, and as a melee character, this is the way to go. For your first mythic ability, the choice is pretty simple, limitless rage of course, so now we can rage indefinitely. For mythic level 2, extra mythic ability, and then Ever Ready. This is truly one of the most powerful mythic abilities in the game, mostly because of the way it scales, and because of how easy it is to get a massive amount of free attacks from attack of opportunity chaining through critical hits, and as a trickster we get tons and tons of them. For mythic level 3, well, if you are playing on unfair, then I suppose you might want less stand because of how useful it can be keeping your character alive. But on core and on hard, since we have a pet and we are also a reach character with size increasing spells, I'd go first with Mythical Beast to truly empower our pet, especially because this scales quite wonderfully later on. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure Mythical Beast was even buffed recently to let your pet's attacks count as Ghost Touch weapon, so they deal full damage to incorporeal foes. Quite powerful. For your first Trickster Mythic trick, well, when it comes to in-depth explanation about the entire Trickster path and the Mythic tricks, please remember that I already have a complete Trickster guide that you can check linked to the site here or in the video description, so for now I'll keep it short and simple. The one we want is Knowledge Arcana rank 1, to increase the enchantment of our items. For the Trickster spells you select, pick the buffs, after all we are a melee character. For Mythic rank 4, you definitely want Mythic Improved Critical and then Falchion. Plus, and this is super important, Perception 1 rank and Perception 2 rank, to allow our character and all of our allies, past included, access to the extremely overpowered Trickster special feats. For Mythic level 5, Mythic Charge, if you have a SKALD then you have Pounce, which means this is applied to every hit you have, super powerful. Or you can also go for the Beast Totem line with your own Barbarian. For another Mythic trick, Athletics rank 1. For Mythic rank 6, Mythic Power Attack. At this point we already have more than enough bonuses to make up for the power attack penalty. And then for Mythic tricks, Infuse Magic Device and Reuse Magic Device. Now our Barbarian, despite being a Barbarian, can actually wield wands with unlimited charges, including the super powerful Wand of Heal. For Mythic rank 7, Elemental Barrage is a given, because this is when we get the Wizard Spellbook and we can add elemental damage to our attacks through spells and self-buffs. Then also Knowledge World rank 1, and here we are. Use Magic Device rank 3 as a greater Mythic trick for our super OP and free full-scaling Wizard Spellbook. For Mythic rank 8, Mythic Improved Initiative. Then for another trick, Law Nature 1 rank and Knowledge World 2 rank for an even higher increase to critical hits. For Mythic level 9, at this point you truly already have the best abilities and feats, but you can definitely pick something like Last Stand just to be safe, as at this point you're fighting Demon Lords and all that. Unrelenting Assault can help a bit too, but it's kinda overkill. We do so much damage that this doesn't help that much. You can even pick Archmage Armor if you want more armor class to your Barbarian, but like I said, it doesn't matter. As for more tricks, Law Religion rank 1, then I'd actually pick Athletics rank 2 here because it basically lets you save against everything in the game, any effect or spell, even on unfair. But you can also go with Religion rank 2 and pick some domains that you find useful. As for the last Mythic rank at 10, which only really happens for the DLC, basically the first one, Inevitable Access, I'd pick Knowledge World 3 as a greater Mythic trick. This is one of the cheesiest ones in the whole game. You can actually bypass any feat requirement, including your party and pets, and what you can do is pick this, then respect your party members so they have access to those OP feats even at level 1 onwards. And as for your actual Mythic feat, you can pick anything you want, even trade it for another Mythic ability. Alright, so now let's cover the gear for our Barbarian Mad Dog. So, the amulet slot, as usual, Velex's Magnifying is the best, as simple as that. But early on, you can do with Amulets of Natural Armor, although you can just cast the Bark Skin spell for that. Amulets that increase your initiative can come in handy too before Valexius. For the armor slot, so Barbarians can equip both light and medium armor, at least the Mad Dog archetype, so breastplates will most likely be your best friend, especially the mithril ones. But early game you can also go for chain shirts, although we don't tend to have high dexterity. For the shirt slot, I like the shirt of the Blazing Fighter for the bonus to Athletics, which helps with the Trickster synergy when it comes to the Athletics Mythic trick. There are some other robes that provide a few defensive buffs like a bonus against Hexes and Necromancy, or Heavy Fortification. The other robes are mostly for spellcasters. For the belt slot, my favorite is the Mangling Frenzy. It's a +4 physical perfection belt that lets your critical hits inflict an additional 46 slashing damage, quite large, so long as you are raging, and well, as a barbarian with limitless rage, we are always raging. For the glove slot, Aurelius embroidered gloves are the best defensive wise, but if you want a few more damage, you can go with Fencer's Gift. And yes, as you can see here, this does work for two-handed weapons. For the boot slot, my favorite for once are actually not Ronak's Sacrifice. I prefer the boots of Stampede for up to 20 damage when charging. After all, we do have high athletics. The thing with Ronak's Sacrifice is, the extra bonuses to dexterity don't really matter much for our character. For the head slot, early game you don't really need anything, but as soon as you start getting your Trickster spells, and most importantly the Wizard spellbook, you'll definitely want headbands of mental perfection that increase both your charisma and intelligence, so you can truly cast all of the Wizard and Trickster spells in the game. And speaking about helmets, you can also use Demonic Resentment for a nice boost when raging, to melee attack and damage rolls. The goggle slots aren't really that important for this character. I enjoy the goggles of Piercing Gaze, if only for the extra boost against demons. When it comes to cloak, as usual, the cloaks of resistance with the highest modifier. Now, the cloak called Call to Violence is very powerful when it comes to rage characters. I just simply like to leave it to other characters instead because it is an aura. The Trickster special cloak is really bad, like it's complete garbage, so be sure to keep 2 cloaks of resistance. When it comes to rings, Ring of Protection if you want a little bit more armor class. The +6 version gives even more than the Shield of Faith spell. A Ring of Evasion as usual to avoid damage from spells and so on. But of course, if you went with an Intimidate Barbarian, you can also like get rings that increase Persuasion, or the Ring of the Guiding Star for +4 to Initiative. The braces slot aren't really that important. I enjoy the Braces of Breaching for the nice effect of making the enemy vulnerable to piercing damage on critical hits, which can help if you have characters focused on that like daggers or rapiers. The problem is, like, the difficulty class isn't really the best, so most of the enemies eventually are going to make their save, but you know it is on hit. You can also go with the Braces of Abruptum slot for the extra damage when making a sneak attack, and as a trickster we gain sneak attack progression for free. Now when it comes to weapons, I went with Falchions, but as I said, you can also go with any other high critical range weapons such as Falshard, Scimitar, or Rapier. When it comes to the ultimate Falchion, I chose the Rumbling Falchion for the sonic damage on hit, due to the thundering property, but I actually have a guide with the best Falchions you can find in the game, that you can check, link to the side here or in the video description, for a nice smooth progression all around, from the beginning to the end. As far as the Quickslots, the Wand of Heal is going to be your best friend eventually, although it comes somewhat late unless you're playing an Angel. As a Trickster, you do have infinite uses of this with Use Magic Device rank 2 trick. A Greater Quicken Meta Magic Rod, mostly for the ultimate Trickster spell, Trick Fate, which basically destroys everything in the game, especially on a Barbarian. The Jar Sigax Dragon Familiar for extra elemental damage on hit, which helps with Elemental Barrage proccing. And then you can also use the Signet of House Vespertilio for a nice boost to a skill of your choice. I like to go with Athletics. Well, alright everyone, so this was it for my Barbarian class guide. If you found it useful, please remember to like, subscribe, and even consider becoming a channel member. If you'd like to recommend a new build for me to make, don't forget to leave a comment too. Thank you for watching, and see you next time, friends.